It will say that we're not on, but we will be on.
Nice.
Let's see how it
It
goes.
started not far from here, right?
No, not
Didn't
fun.
it start on Harvard's
Yes,
campus?
it did.
The Facebook?
Let's see if it says we're not supported, but I think we are. We are. Okay, good. We'll record this to the cloud.
Nice.
Record to the cloud, and I think we're good to roll. Let me just check this one other thing, and we should be okay. We are. Hey, everybody, it's Wednesday, so that must mean it's Whiskey Wednesday. Thank you. All right. Andy Westley is here with us tonight. He is listen, he's got a long, illustrious career. I won't go through everything, but what's your title now?
So I am one of 18 masters of whiskey in the world.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. So
I am not any of that. So there'll be a good night then, right? Yeah. But you're working for the
I work for
Foley
Foley Family Wines and
Yep.
Spirits. We represent a number of different whiskeys. This evening we're here to talk about Glen Scotia.
Glen Scotia is here's one of the things. How many people have been to Scotland? Yeah. How many people have been to Islay? How many have been to the McIntyre? How many people have been to Glen Scotia, or I'll say Springbank? Nobody. Because even in Scotland, one of the hardest places to actually go to, you have to want to go there.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there's no easy way of getting there, and it's still part of the mainland, which is even weirder. More people have been to Islay and then have been down to like Glen Scotia in that area, and it's attached. You don't even have to take a ferry to get there.
Sure. I know of only 3 ways to get to Campbelltown. One of which is to drive about a 3-hour drive from Glasgow.
Right.
Up
I've done that.
around the water. The second of which is there is a ferry that runs across that body of water.
Right.
Unfortunately, the day that my wife and I were driving to Campbelltown, we didn't realize the ferry was closed until we got all the way to the ferry,
and then which just added more time to go all the way.
And then we had to go, 45 minutes back in the other direction. And then the third way to get there is on a 12-seat prop plane that literally it's about a
what they call that
25-minute flight.
You know what they call that prop plane? No way.
No way.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
When I was on that plane this summer, and you know how when you get on a plane, there's somebody that says, put your seatbelt on, here's where the exits are and things like that. That person, after they did that, sat down next to the pilot and helped fly the plane.
Oh, when they make the announcement, they actually don't make the announcement over a speaker like this. They just go, okay, everybody, okay, put those, get that one on, sir. You're okay. You're ready to go. Now, and it's so funny to talk about the Campbelltown area in general, because at one time, historically, that most of Scotch was produced in that one area. 80
absolutely.
distilleries?
So there were 26 in one little town. Now, you've been to Campbelltown? Campbelltown's a little tiny town.
Yeah.
At the bottom of a little tiny peninsula in southwestern Scotland. And at the height, there were 26 distilleries there. Call it like between 1880 and 1890. And by 1934, all but 2 of them had closed. When Reclochen closed in 1934. For those of you who are interested, there's a very good book about Campbelltown that's just been released called Whiskyopolis, which is about literally David Stirk's book is about Campbelltown was literally the center of whiskey production in Scotland. And between 1890 and 1934, all but 2 of the distilleries closed. Now, there were a number of reasons for that. 2 world wars, the Great Depression, prohibition in the United States, but the biggest of which is when you have a chance to taste these whiskeys, that around the time of the turn of the century was the time that the blends were really becoming popular in Scotland, right? 90% of all Scotch whiskey are still blends.
Yeah.
And Campbelltown whiskey does not work and play well with others. It doesn't blend well, as you'll see, sort of, because of the viscosity and the nature of the distillate, you blend it with something and it sort of tastes like Campbelltown whiskey. So sort of fell out of favor with the blend.
You will assimilate.
Yes. So there were 2 distilleries left in Campbelltown at that time. One of them was Glen Scotia. The other was Springbank. sir, you're in the front row here. I saw you had your Springbank jacket on. You will never hear me say a bad word about Springbank, because if I said a bad word about Springbank, I would be an idiot. The whiskeys are beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful whiskey.
They're beautiful whiskeys. They're just very, very hard to find. And so Glen Scotia offers an opportunity for something that's a little bit more available. Fast forward a little bit in the history of Campbelltown, from 1934 to 1990, there were these two distilleries, Glen Scotia and Springbank. Both of them opened and closed multiple times between 1934 and 1990. And then in 1990, the Scotch Whisky Association, which makes the decision about who's going to have their own regional designation, said they were sort of threatening, we're not sure if Campbelltown needs its own region anymore because there's only two distilleries. And Headley Wright, who was the owner of Springbank at the time, looked around and said, what's the next smallest region, which was the Lowlands, with
right.
3. And he said, we have to open up one more distillery in Campbelltown. So they opened up Glengyle, which is literally right next door to Springbank, for those of you who have been there. They produce whiskey at Glengyle for part of the year with Springbank's crew. There was a rumor that they were going to eventually get to the point where they were going to make whiskey there year round. And you don't see whiskeys labeled as Glengyle because somebody else owns that distillery name. Those whiskeys are named Kilkerran. Beautiful whiskeys. So pretty much everything coming out of Campbelltown, which is by far the smallest region in Scotland, are beautiful whiskeys, and we're gonna talk a little bit and taste through some of the Glen Scotias.
Even when we were talking about the Foley family, and because you do have there's a lot of other stuff in the portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
We started saying like, oh, maybe we should do this and we do that. And I go, all I want to talk about is Glen Scotia, because Glen Scotia is the unsung hero of Campbelltown, and that not enough people get to try it.
Sure.
Because it's just, when you think of that area, it automatically goes to Springbank. Like I said, you'd be foolish not to. It's good. It's great stuff. But Glen Scotia is also really nice stuff too.
Absolutely.
And I just thought it was important as been able to get back the expressions.
Sure.
Which we didn't have all of, and I'll explain that a little as when we go along. But we have all these expressions now. We have 5 of them now. So let's go. We got Glen Scotia. All right. Enough of that. Tell us a little bit about Glen Scotia, and let's start drinking.
There you go. I love it. So, everything in Campbelltown is still very traditional whiskey making. So, cast iron washbacks, and one of the things that's unique about Glen Scotia, very long fermentations. So the fermentation average at Glen Scotia is about 128 hours, almost 129 hours. Now, as most of you probably know, yeast eats sugar to form alcohol in 48 hours, right? So 48 hours is how long we need to get ethanol. So what are we doing for the extra, 80 odd hours? All of that is about creation of esters, fruity aromas and flavors that form as the yeast breaks down and amino acids bond with alcohols and form esters, which are fruity aromas. So one of the things that I always find really interesting about these whiskeys, and as we taste the Glen Scotia 10-year-old, which is whiskey number 1, when everybody smells this whiskey, there's like tropical fruit here, right? There's like mango and pineapple and a whole bunch of things that you don't necessarily expect, particularly from a whiskey of this weight and texture. That's all coming from that long fermentation. 100% Scottish barley, most of it from down in that area in southwestern Scotland. If everybody's had a chance to actually, first of all, the other thing that I like to point out about the nose, the scientists will tell you that there is no salt in whiskey. Okay, there's no sodium in whiskey, therefore there's no salt in whiskey. And I have people smell whiskeys from Campbelltown, and I go, really? There's no salt here, because
there's a salinic.
There's like a salinity, a brininess, a maritime quality, whatever it is that you want to call it. And scientifically, we're not exactly sure where that comes from. But if you look at a map of where Campbelltown is, it's surrounded on 3 sides by the sea, and the aging process, everything, it's having a chance to absorb that.
Something's making, but even if it's not, even if like let's say it's not actually the seawater that's doing it,
Right.
it's not the atmosphere. There's still like because there's certain things that you can taste that will trigger certain sense memories in your brain and make you taste certain things.
Yep.
So there's something in the way it is made that that's triggering that thing for your brain to go salinic.
Yep,
It's
absolutely.
saline. It's a brininess. There's something there.
Oh, absolutely. And
It's not like a mass hypnosis.
no, it's actually there.
You do taste it.
It's actually there. We just don't, like so many things. One of the things that I find fascinating about whiskey, particularly single malt Scotch, and we have a room full of people here who are single malt Scotch fans. So I'm assuming many of you are sort of fascinated by the same thing. The reality is that every single malt Scotch is made with 3 ingredients, right? Water, yeast, and malted barley. That's it. And whether you're making Loch Lomond in the Highlands or Macallan, up north, or Glen Scotia in Campbelltown, it's just those 3 ingredients. So what we're doing in terms of length of fermentation, the size and shape of the stills, what
The
sort
cuts.
of cut points, what sort of barrels we're using, all of that creates these huge stylistic differences between these whiskeys. And the last thing that I would mention from a process perspective is 2 stills, short, squatty stills. So we're getting very, very deep, rich, textured distillate. I teach a lot of spirits or classes about spirits, and one of the things that I always talk about in terms of texture is a lot of times the difference between a good spirit and an excellent spirit isn't about taste, right? It's about texture. It's about mouthfeel. It's about how these whiskeys feel on your palate. And for those of you who haven't had a chance to taste this yet, you put this whiskey on your
trust me, they're
palate.
probably through the next 5, so don't worry about it.
And particularly here with this Glen Scotia 10-year-old, which is all ex-bourbon, mostly refill casks, but all ex-bourbon barrels. There's a weightiness, right? There's a texture, there's an oiliness to this whiskey, which I think is really interesting, particularly with how fruity it is up front.
Yeah, it doesn't almost make sense.
Yeah, it's a bit of a dichotomy.
What do you guys think? Like it? Now this one is, and I think this one's at 40%.
That one is at 40%. The double cask is at 40%, and then everything else is the next 2 whiskeys we're going to taste, the 15 and the 18 are 46.
And do they do these? Are these non-chill filtered, or some are and some aren't?
They don't say these 2. They don't say on the label that they're non-chill filtered. So
there's going to be some sort of like
but the 15, 18, 25 definitely
say it, yeah. And we always comment about whether it's good. I get more of a mouthfeel of between chill filtered and unchill filtered than anything else. Flavor wise, though, too, I think when they're not chill, when they are chill filtered, I think over time everything's been compensated enough that you actually it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff.
A lot of times when you see chill filtered whiskeys, it's really more about the appearance of the whiskey than it is about the flavor. And yes, sir. The 10-year-old?
The 10-year-old's non-chill filtered. I didn't see it on there.
I didn't see it on there. Great. Yes, it's chill filtered. Yeah. Yeah, yes, it is. It just doesn't say it on the bottle. We're looking at the bottles.
Oh yeah. It says it's chill filtered, right? Non-chill filtered.
Non-chill filtered.
Okay.
Yeah. So no chill filtering here. And
it doesn't say it. That's why I was curious on that.
Like I said, it's an appearance thing for certain markets. Now, to your point about, from my perspective, I just want transparency.
Yeah, that's
what chill filter.
Fine.
I just want transparency about what's happening.
I like information.
Yep.
So I like to okay, I think I got people. My wife says, why do you want to know I was thinking, and why do you read the box and why do you do this? So I think it's growing up eating cereals as a kid. Right? You have the box in front of you. How many people you just sit there and you're eating and you're reading the box?
Sure.
you know, and it's just like I'm just used to I'm drinking. I'll have the box in my hand. I'm just reading it.
Right. And to be fair, this is a very nice box, but it's not as nice as like a Captain Crunch box.
No, it is not.
You
No,
know,
it's not.
I mean,
It's not. It's not. It's not.
the
But let's not get carried away.
work for the importer, but
Yeah,
yeah,
let's
I
not get
mean,
carried away.
there's still
Do you guys like the 10? Yeah, I like it. That's just really good. It's a good place. Not only, I mean, we sort of start to get these things. I think it's a good starting point, and it's also shows you can pick up a 10 and just say this is going to give you an idea of what whiskeys from Campbelltown are like.
Yep.
Without spending a fortune, without doing anything else, you can just get these.
Yep.
And I think it's a very, very good example. It's solid.
Yeah,
Solid
absolutely.
whiskey.
And sort of, you know, all ex bourbon, so you're really getting
Right.
a chance to see what the distillate is
Right.
like. You know, there's not a lot of no finishing there. When we get to the next whiskey, there's a little bit of
Well,
sherry
speaking of
finishing.
which, let's go to the next
Speaking of
whiskey.
which.
Yeah, sweet.
So the next whiskey is
What's stopping us? Nothing.
the double cask. This
Yeah.
is also 40 ABV. This is a non-age statement whiskey. Most of the whiskey here is 6 to 8 years old. But as all of you know, if you put an age statement on the label, that represents the minimum age of any of the liquid in the blend. And so a lot of single malts, particularly
Right.
at this price point, are doing a non-age statement, so they blend to a flavor profile as opposed to you know, a particular age for everyone.
We're not ageist here. None of us are. We'll just drink it. If we like it, we like it.
And then this is yes, sir.
This one is
This
46.
one's 40. Yeah, the 10-year-old is 40. The double cask is 46. Yeah.
I was going to read the box and I didn't. It's good though. I'll say that. The nose on this is really nice. I like this one a lot.
This is a little bit of PX finishing. So refill ex bourbon and then Pedro Jimenez sherry cask finishing.
That's really nice. I like that.
And again, that weight and texture is going to be.
But you get inside into that
consistent.
realm where it's not overly peaty. It's not like
No.
super peaty. There is a little peat in that one though. Is there a little peat in this one?
They do. Glen Scotia does peating like 6 to 8 weeks a year.
Okay.
And a lot of that peated barley goes into special releases.
Okay.
They do a Campbelltown festival release every year, and then they have a series called the Icons of Campbelltown. Some of those are peated and some of those aren't.
Okay.
And then there's a little bit of that peated barley that makes its way into the rest of the program. But I would say like such a small percentage.
Yeah, but
I wouldn't even talk about a particular ppm level, but there's definitely
there's something there.
Feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's sort of neat is having that sort of like a little bit of that peatiness with that tropical fruit flavor is really cool.
Yep.
And then you add the sherry into that. It's really neat.
And
I think this is a real, really
you know, and
good
again,
whiskey.
that viscosity and the texture of this whiskey with all that fruit up front, I think is really interesting. I think that for me, that's one of the things that separate the Glen Scotia whiskeys from the Springbank whiskeys, because the Springbank whiskeys definitely have fruit, but there's not so much of that sort of overt fruit up front like there is with the Glen
Got a pretty
Scotia.
long finish too on that one too. I like that one too. Now the next one we're gonna do is one of my favorites of the. We have 5, but there's a lot of other whiskeys that Glen Scotia produces. But the 15, I that's one of my sort of favorites of the lineup. Period, across the board. And this one is. Can you explain a little bit about how this one makes its mark on this?
This is all ex bourbon. There's a little bit of sherry cask finishing with the 18. And I would agree with you. I think for me, when people ask me what is the most sort of archetypal Glen Scotia bottling, I think that this 15-year-old is.
I didn't ask. Everybody like the double cask? Like that one? There is another double cask. We were talking about it earlier. This one's the sherry. It's the bourbon and then the sherry. There is a bourbon and a rum.
Yes, there's a double.
I don't think
cask
that one's
rum.
available here, though. Is it? It's available. Is it available in the
It's
U.S.?
available in the U.S. Yes.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about that later.
Oh, see,
We got our reps back there, so she just got put on the hot seat. She's used to it, though. She asked me as a customer. She's used to it. But this 15 is one of my, I think for that exact reason that you just pointed out. One of the reasons is like, this is, to me, this is like Glen Scotia.
Yeah.
Like, this is it.
Well, and
It's
the
for a
difference
15-year-old, it's
between
very distillate driven for a 15.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that what you're starting to see with the 15, it's not just it's 5 more years of aging in refill ex bourbon, but the 10-year-old, that bright fruitiness is, from my perspective, because the cask has just sort of started to influence the whiskey. And here you have a lot more cask influence, you have a lot more spice, you have a lot more
Oh yeah, the spice finish on this goes on for a while too.
But
this one is 46. 46 ABV.
But here it's all ex bourbon. There's no sherry here.
Well, and I think the ex bourbon does help. I mean, we talk about the influence of the cask, right? Ex bourbon is, depending on how many, if it's 1 time or 2 times ex removed from bourbon, you start getting into with bourbon especially. I think you start getting into like the neutral. You start getting towards neutral.
Sure.
So it's not like it's the baseline. So it's not really adding a lot of other influence. So in the 15-year-old, you're getting a little bit of that wood. You're getting the distillate, and you're getting time.
Yep, absolutely. And you're, to your point, that obviously the longer that distillate stays in a particular type of barrel, the less direct impact the wood is having on flavor, because it's already had that impact, right? So what you get here is,
you won't get any more influence from the barrel. Now you're getting the influence of time,
right? And maturation, and you've probably heard people talk, particularly in American whiskey, about different ways that people are trying to speed up aging whiskey. And the reality is that you can add flavor faster, but you can't mature faster.
You can't add time.
Yeah, there's no
cheating time. If we could, we would. Trust me.
Absolutely. But what you're starting to see here is the barrel has played its part, and then the barrel is having less to do with imparting flavor, but more to do with softening and maturing and allowing those flavors to integrate in a way like if you make a great sauce, right? And you cook the sauce very slowly, the flavors will integrate differently than if you put your sauce on the the stove and heat it up quicker.
Right.
You'll get some of that flavor, but they won't be as integrated.
Well, anybody knows if you make chili or you make any type of sauce, it's always better the second day, because it gets to integrate.
Oh yeah,
that time.
Yeah,
again, time.
Put it in the refrigerator, let it get that oil on top, and then recook it. Yep.
What do you guys think of the 15? Now, I'm not going to try to influence you, but here's what it is. I think, again, I'll say it again, is like, this really gives you the character of Glen Scotia. I think more than any of the other whiskeys we've tried so far. Do you guys like this? Yes? No? Who doesn't like it? Security. That's okay. That's why there's Coke and Pepsi. I'm an RC Cola guy myself, but you know what I mean? There's going to be something for there's when somebody tells me, it's always a funny part when somebody says, well, I don't like whiskey, and I go, oh, you've tried them all. And they're like, no, I haven't. I go, there will be, if you try enough whiskeys, there will be one you like. It's just because the gamut runs so big.
Sure. Well, and one thing I always like to talk about.
My wife finally started liking whiskey. She had a $400 bottle. It was fantastic.
Fantastic.
I understand what you've been talking about all this time. I want to, this is the one. I go, no, it's not.
No, no, it's not. And
No.
you know what? She'll like the $600 one even more than
I
that.
know.
So I think that what you're talking about here is a really good example of something that I've always felt both with wine and with whiskey. I would contend, first of all, can you all grant me that whiskey is part art and part science? Right? There's something artistic here, in addition to all of the science. I would contend that in order for anything artistic to be truly great, it's got to be offensive to somebody, right? Somebody's got to not like it, because if everybody likes it, then the artist hasn't gone committed to
Has it gone
something
far enough?
in enough of a direction.
Right.
So sometimes I'll ask people, like, how many of you really like Metallica? And people will raise their hand. And then there'll be, how many of you really hate Metallica? And people raise their hand. And I'm like, the same reason you like it is the reason that you don't like it. So when I see someone who finds a whiskey that they don't like, it's not that I'm a masochist or something like that, but I say that's actually a good thing, because the distiller went committed to something that they believed in. Maybe it's not interesting to you, but it also helps me. If I'm trying to help you find a whiskey that you like, if I know what you don't like, it helps me get closer to what it is that you do.
We do that all the time. Is like, if you try something, we're trying to figure out like what wine you want or what anything you do. It's like, it's important to tell me what you don't like as much as it is to tell me what you do.
Yep.
And sometimes it's easier to work from the place that you don't like, because I can rule out all of this stuff. Because if you don't like that, I don't have to show you any of these.
Right.
I only have to show you these.
Right.
Because now we can narrow it down.
Sure.
You
Because chances are, if you didn't like this, there's a bunch of things to the
Oh
left
yeah,
of
there's
that
there's
that
plenty
we
of
don't
it.
need
There's
to,
plenty. Yeah.
we don't need to worry about it all.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right. The people, yes, you're right. Yeah. People are more specific and more apt to describe something that they don't like, because we get this all the time. People will tell us what they like, and then we start tasting one stuff, and they go like, "You understand that you like exactly the opposite of what you just told me."
Right.
Because they don't know how to describe it, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just it's just language. It's trying to get, it's communication.
Sure.
How do I communicate to you what I like? I'm explaining to you, but if you don't have the right tools to explain it to me, then it's a difficult process. That's why we believe in liquid to lips, right? Because once you taste something, you can certainly tell me if you like it or not.
Sure.
There's no doubt about it. And if you say, "Oh, I don't like that part of it," we can move on to something else.
Right. And so finding what you don't like is as important, if not more important, than finding what you do.
And that's why they're married. Wait a minute, where are they? The 15 is the 46.
46.
I don't know what the 18 is. We haven't
18
got
is also
46. Yeah.
Yeah.
46 is like, we call it the magic number. 46 means it's 92 proof. Anything really, you don't really have to chill filter
Yeah.
if you're at 92 or above. So that's sort of that magic number. It takes a lot to get the flocculation or the cloudiness in whiskey, because it's just basically fatty strains that are congealing at that colder temperature, and it makes the whiskey look cloudy. The whiskey tastes the same. You won't even know it. You won't even know if you a cloudy whiskey. You put an ice cube in certain things, and you see it cloud up. You taste it. That didn't affect the taste.
Sure.
It just, we drink with our eyes a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that doesn't look right. If you're in New England, it's easy because we drink soda with like stuff floating in it. Who's ever had an orange dry from Polar? I mean, come on, we'll drink stuff. We'll drink stuff with like floaties in it. I mean, the Worcester water that has floaties in it too.
Sure. Well, and you mentioned like pouring whiskey over ice. Let me like, don't let anybody tell you that you can't pour whiskey over ice. If that's what you want to do, do it. That some people like it, some people don't. The same thing with adding water. I tell people, if you are tasting whiskey to get the truest expression of what the whiskey is, sometimes 2 or 3 drops of water is a great way to sort of release some of the oils in whiskey. If you hold a glass of whiskey up and watch what happens to the whiskey when you drop water in it, physically it changes, right? It clouds up a little bit. It
You
releases
get the
some,
Schlern effect, the
some
little dragon in
Yep,
there.
some oils, and a lot of the distilleries will tell you that the reason why they release cask strength whiskey is not because they want you to drink it at
Cask strength,
55 or
right.
60 or whatever, but they want you to add water to find the right point for you.
That's where I get myself in trouble, because I know it's cask strength and I know I'm supposed to add water, but then I start drinking, I add a little water, and then I add too much water, then I have to start the whole process all over again.
Right.
And so it's like it's a vicious cycle, and before I know it, half the bottle's gone.
There you go. And
I
then
never figure out how we got. There's a hole in the top of the bottle. That's the
you
problem.
have to buy another bottle of it and start the whole thing
There you
over
go.
again.
I gotta wait till the next day because I can't drive after that. All right, so here we're gonna hit like basically everybody always wants to know what's the 18. How's the 18 taste?
So
right?
so the 18, I would say, to your point earlier, 15 is the best expression of Glen Scotia, just because everything's starting to happen in exactly the way that we would want
It's
it
the
to.
DNA.
Scotia?
It's the what's the helix there. That's the 15.
Yep. The 18, the big difference between the 15 and the 18, other than 3 years of aging, and there's obviously math involved. The 18 does have some Oloroso sherry cask finishing. So you're getting the distillate plus 3 extra years of age plus the influence of sherry.
Right. And if you don't get the influence of sherry on this one, we have to have your palate checked.
Yeah, there's definitely sherry here. Now, I wouldn't say it's not overly sherried.
But that finish
sherry.
really shows it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can have
it's not a sherry bomb.
Yeah, we can have a whole, we could do a whole nother session on sherry finishing versus sherry casking, and at what point sherry is too much, and you're literally tasting the sherry more than you're tasting the whiskey. I think this is a great example of taking
it's an enhancement
sherry and using it to enhance something that's already there. Part of the reason that we wanted to show you the 15 and then the 18 is you get a really good chance to see, okay, this is what the distillate is like,
right?
And then give you an opportunity to see how sherry influences it. And you don't always get that chance, right? Because a lot of times the distilleries that do sherry either do just all sherry cask,
right?
Or if they're finishing with sherry, they're sort of finishing with sherry at every level.
Right.
So I think this is an interesting chance to see, okay, here's what the distillate is like on its own. And that's not to say that bourbon casks aren't adding anything. They're just adding different flavors, and they're
you're going to get those caramels, those toffees, that type of influence, if at all, depending on how old the ex bourbon is.
Sure.
But then when you're starting adding sherry cask, you're doing that because you want to get the sherry influence. Now here comes the art. How much sherry do I add? When I start blending the barrels together, how much of that sherry do I add?
Yep.
And that's where it is. It's that nuance. It's that line.
Yep. Well, and it's interesting. We're not tasting this particular whiskey tonight, but Glen Scotia also does a 21-year-old and a 25-year-old, and the 25-year-old does not have any sherry cask at all. What they actually do with the 25-year-old is they age it for 24 years in refill ex bourbon, and then they put it in a first fill ex bourbon barrel for a year at the end. So they're actually finishing it in a newer bourbon barrel,
which is going to bring out a lot of notes.
Yeah, which sort of pulls different things out, and then the last whiskey, which we'll talk about here in a minute, does something a little bit different than even that. But how does everybody like the?
We like the 18.
Okay. 12 months in Oloroso.
12 months. I like that. That's good. I do like that one. Now, The next one we're gonna try is the Victoriana.
Do you want me to talk about Victoriana first and then you tell your story, or you want to tell your story first?
Let me tell my story
All right, let's
first because I
tell
think
your
it just so there's a lot of us here that like the Victoriana. We actually tried it when we were over there. We got it here in the States. We had it in the store, and then all of a sudden we couldn't get it anymore. It just went away, and we were sort of sad about that. So Brooke, who's our new rep out here for the Foley family, comes in. Hi, Brooke. And so I go, hey, you ever gonna bring the Victoriana back? And she's like, oh no, it's here in the United States. I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, no, do you want some? I go, yeah, I do. Can we get that back into Massachusetts? And I said, I'll buy I think what I take 4 cases of it. Just send me 4. Then you can give whatever you want to everybody else. I said, I'll take 4 because I can count on my fingers. I didn't have to take off my shoes, which was great, but I can count on my fingers how many people would just buy one just because I got it back in. And sure enough, we ran out of the 4 cases immediately. We're getting more.
We can get more, yeah.
See, it's all of a sudden it's successful again, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. So now tell us about the Victoriana. So, why do we like it so much?
So here's why. Here's what's unique about it, and here's what I think you like about it. First of all, remember back to our history lesson earlier about the fact that in the Victorian era, Campbelltown was sort of the center of the Scotch whiskey distilling world. So this is a tribute to the way that whiskeys were made then. Glen Scotia was founded in 1832 and was very popular at that Victorian time. At that point, it was called Scotia, not Glen Scotia. They added the Glen Scotia later. But at that time, when you got a barrel to age whiskey in the 1890s, there are any number of things that could have been in that barrel.
That was the cardboard box of the 1890s.
Yeah,
I mean,
it really was. If you think about, we tend to think about barrels now as being, oh, they were created for making whiskey, and no. Barrels were created because they were easy to move things around in, right? You could stack them on top of each other, and then you could move things around, and then you could unstack them and put them on their sides and roll them someplace, right? So barrels could have had nails in them before. They could have had fish in them before. They could have had whale oil in them before. Any number of things.
I have a bottle of Fishkey.
Fishkey, there you go. So in order to sort of remove whatever that flavor that might have been in the barrel was before they put whiskey in it, they used to flash char the barrels. So they would literally, right before, they would bring the barrels in and they would char the inside of them, which sort of clarified and removed all of that old, flavor. It didn't, I don't want to say it sterilized the barrel because, we know a lot more about sterilization now, but what it did is it got rid of all the other flavor. So this is actually in those flash charred barrels. Okay. This is a non-age statement whiskey, as you see here. They're blending to a batch, and then what they do is they take that batch once it's made and they put it into a new charred oak barrel to finish it at the end of the process. 54.2, so this is considerably higher in ABV than the other things that we've tasted, and that is now consistent. The first a couple of times that they did Victoriana, the ABVs were slightly different, and they realized that in the United States and other places in the world where they were sending Victoriana, if the ABV is different, as you know, TTB needs to reapprove the label. They need to do everything. So
got to do the song and dance all over again.
So what they do now is they always make it 54.2. So it doesn't need to be re-registered every time. But they're batching it. The other thing that you'll notice about the bottle, all of the other Glen Scotias come in a clear bottle. This comes in a green bottle. That was because at that particular time, green bottles were what they put spirits into. And
most of them didn't have box. I mean, these have nice boxes. Most of them didn't have boxes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was, easier to make green glass. 1, 2, it does protect the whiskey inside a little bit too.
Yep.
That's one of the things, right?
Sure.
Light.
Yep. Yeah,
light. We still know even back then, the light is not good.
Yeah. So higher ABV. So, some of you may taste this and may want to add a few drops of water just to bring the ABV down a little bit.
Y'all have bottles of Icelandic glacial water on your table, so if you want to add a little bit, you can add a couple drops in that.
Do we need to Icelandic
Glacial
water?
Glacial
Perfect.
water. It's beautiful water. It's the official water of the Lock and Key Society.
So, two things about this particular expression of Glen Scotia. First of all, and most importantly, does everybody like this? Okay, there's a few people who don't. It's either too high ABV or the flash charring or whatever. And again, that's okay. One of the things that I'll say about this is actually a really, really good Campbelltown Scotch whiskey for bourbon drinkers. Right. The people who are sort of drawn to bourbon, and you have your friends that are like, oh, I don't drink Scotch at all. I can't drink Scotch. Now, most of them, from the scientific research that I've done, most of the people who say, I don't like Scotch because I don't like all of that smokiness. And I go, okay, well, what Scotch have you had? And they say Ardbeg, or they say Lafroig, or they say Lagavulin. If all of you have had experience with a broad range of single malts, if the first thing that you ever tasted was Ardbeg, I love Ardbeg, but if the first thing you ever tasted was Ardbeg, you might go, wow,
so all of it's really smoky.
That's not for me, right? And then you're like, oh, it's one small country. How different could the whiskeys be? There are over 150 single malt distilleries in Scotland, all making whiskeys that are very different. And, stylistically very different. But if the first experience that you had was something that was heavily peated, you've probably all heard this, right? Oh, Scotch whiskey is too smoky for me. It's too peaty for me. But please give me some of that American whiskey in the new charred oak barrels, right? That's not too smoky for me. So I find that for whatever reason, if you have friends that are bourbon drinkers and you want to sort of cheat them over to the dark side a little bit, Victoriana is a really good place to start because it sort of creates that natural transition because of that flash charring, right? Because there's a flavor profile that they're familiar with.
How popular is this expression popular in, let's say, Scotland? Or is it popular across the United States?
It's popular in Scotland as well. There have been many sort of, rebirths of Glen Scotia and and other brands like it. One of the things to keep in mind, one of the big differences between Springbank and Glen Scotia is that Springbank has had the same owner, for all of those years. The J.H. Mitchell family that owned Springbank, who recently bequeathed, when Headley Wright died, they bequeathed the distillery to the town of Campbelltown. But up until then, they had the same owner for all of those years. And Glen Scotia's been through I think 9 different owners since it's
with everybody, and everybody's got a different vision of what they want to do.
Right. So Victoriana was one of the most recent sort of resurgence of Glen Scotia. A lot of it had to do with Victoriana. So it is popular other places in the world as well.
Curious because it is one of those ones that, like I said, when I brought it back, people were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you have it back."
Yeah. No, we will make sure that you can keep it in stock.
Thank you.
It's
that helps.
Yes, sir.
Are you using
No,
Are you using virgin oak barrels for the rechar, or just recharring bourbon barrels?
They're recharring ex-bourbon barrels. It's not new wood. It's just freshly charred. Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? No, Lisa, no.
Uh-oh.
Carol, you have a question? Go ahead, Lisa. What do you got? What do you got for us? Was Glen Scotia one of the first companies that went to the flash charring to get the yucky, I will quote, the yucky fish flavors out? I don't think Trust me, if they had their choice, they would never use a fish barrel.
Yes.
That's
I don't think that it certainly wasn't, as far as I know from my research, it wasn't something that Glen Scotia necessarily pioneered. I think it was just traditional
way you
at
did
that
it.
time to do. And so when they decided that they wanted to create Victoriana, they wanted to do something that was very sort of hearkening back to the way that whiskey was made at that time. But it wasn't specific to Glen Scotia.
You got to remember too that, I mean, even traditionally, like, anything come from the United States that's using for bourbon is always going to be charred, right? Okay. But you're talking about at a time, Randall talks about this. My buddy Randall talks about this a lot of times. Is that it's the cardboard box of that time. You would pack dishes in a barrel. You would put anything that you could put, anything that had to be shipped went into a crate or a barrel. Barrels were great because they were like an egg. They're actually hard to break.
Yep.
So, it didn't necessarily have to even hold, like you said, nails or china or cloth. The cloth wouldn't be, but anything else would be like sort of thrown in these barrels. So a lot of these things didn't hold liquid in them before they went to be used for whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your cooper that's checking them out, and they're making sure that there's nothing else, other flavors going on in there,
Right.
and they're flash charring.
Right.
They could put Moxie in a barrel. Are you familiar with Moxie, sir?
I'm not familiar.
Oh, okay. We'll get you familiar later on.
Okay. Okay. Well, I
Moxie.
have a feeling I'm from Chicago. Is this like a Malort thing?
Oh.
Is this?
Mint?
Oh, nice. Nice.
I just got these in. Actually, Megazone got this one. Malort sucks. That's an endorsement. And it's also the mint.
How many of you have had Malort? Have you been to Chicago?
How many people have had Malort because I've made them drink it?
Right. It's actually it's amazing how many people have Malort because somebody makes them do it.
Yeah.
Or either, there's
Your father's
certainly-
not going to fight himself. Somebody,
yeah,
drink Malort.
There's certainly some sort of influence involved in getting somebody to drink Malort. Malort is the half of what is called the Chicago handshake, which is a Malort and a glass of Old Style.
So here's the deal. For those of you that are curious, I'll have some Malort. You can try it, but it's sort of a combination of the worst part of a grapefruit pith and gasoline.
But in the best possible.
But in a good way. No, it's not in a good way.
Not really.
No, really, no. The worst part about Malort is it doesn't end. Okay, it just stays with you for days.
It does.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. And most people in one way or another drink it on a dare. It's sort of like your buddy's like
we have reserved Malort upstairs.
I bought
too,
you
by
a
the way.
shot of Malort.
Barrel aged.
Oh, you got the barrel aged Malort?
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
All right. Well, enough of that tomfoolery. How did everybody like the whiskeys tonight? I want to thank Andy Westley again for coming in and doing this. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I'll be around for a while if anybody has any other questions.
I'm going to stay with you. We're going to go through some stuff. I'm going to say goodbye to the people on Facebook. And by the way, this also becomes a podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify and so forth. Look for It's the Liquor Talking, and you can find them. Anybody else that was watching us on, thanks for coming. But you really should have been here because it was awesome.